Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be taking a journey into the world of qualitative research.
Ooh, exciting.
You know, the kind of research that helps us understand the why and the how behind what people do.
Not just the what, right?
Exactly. And we've got two pretty powerful tools to help us do just that.
I'm intrigued.
Thematic analysis
Okay.
and interpretative phenomenological analysis.
Or, as the cool kids call it, IPA.
IPA for short.
Exactly.
So think of these as two different lenses for looking at the same picture.
I like that analogy.
So if that picture is, let's say, a tapestry woven from people's experiences, TA helps us find those common threads that kind of run through it.
I see.
And IPA lets us zoom in on just a single thread and see all the little details.
So with TA, we're looking for patterns across, like, a whole group of people.
Right, the big picture.
Yeah. And with IPA, we're diving deep into the unique world of an individual.
Okay, that's starting to make sense.
Yeah.
But let's break it down even further.
Okay, sounds good.
What exactly does thematic analysis involve?
Well, imagine you've got, like, this stack of interviews or maybe some survey responses, all about the same topic.
Right.
Thematic analysis basically helps you sift through all of that information and find those recurring ideas, those things that people keep bringing up again and again.
So, like, in that source we have about people working remotely.
Yeah.
Some of those recurring themes might be, you know, the struggle to balance work and life, or maybe that feeling of isolation that can sometimes come with working from home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the great thing is TA provides, like, this structured way to uncover those themes.
Okay.
It's not just, you know, randomly picking out quotes that sound good.
Right.
There's a real process involved.
A process.
Yeah. So the first step is to, like, really immerse yourself in the data.
Immerse.
Yeah. You read through everything carefully, get a feel for what people are saying.
Okay.
So it's like soaking it all in before you even start making any judgments.
I like that.
And as you read, you start to highlight key phrases or ideas that jump out at you.
Oh, so that's what coding is.
Exactly. It's like tagging those key phrases with little labels.
Oh.
So you can group together later on.
Right.
And then as you code more and more data, you start to see those codes forming clusters around certain topics.
Clusters.
And those clusters, you guessed it, become your themes.
So it's like those individual pieces of a puzzle are starting to come together.
Exactly. Then you've got to review those themes, make sure they really reflect what's in the data.
Right.
You might combine some themes, split others, refine them, really get them to that point where they feel just right.
I'm guessing the next step is giving those themes names, right?
You got it. Clear, concise names that really capture the essence of each theme.
Okay.
And finally, you write it all up, explaining your findings, using quotes from the participants to illustrate those themes.
Got it.
Makes sense, right?
So with TA, we're really getting this bird's eye view of the data.
Exactly. We're seeing the big picture, the common threads connecting everyone's experiences.
Okay, I think I'm getting that.
Great. Now let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And take a look at IPA.
IPA.
Yeah, remember this one is all about depth.
Right, the individual.
Yeah. It's about understanding all the nuances of one individual's unique experience.
So instead of finding those common threads,
Right.
we're just zeroing in on a single thread and really examining it in detail.
Exactly. Let's say someone is going through a major life change.
Yeah.
Like starting their own business after, I don't know, years in a corporate job.
Big change.
Huge. IPA would help us understand how that one person is making sense of that transition.
Okay.
What are their anxieties, their hopes, maybe their internal struggles?
So we're like really getting into the nitty gritty.
Exactly, the nitty gritty of their lived experience.
But how do we actually do that? Does IPA have a process like TA does?
It does. And just like TA, there are several steps. But the key difference is that each step is focused on understanding just that one individual's world.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Walk me through it.
Yeah, walk me through.
Okay, so first, you read and reread the data.
Okay.
In this case, it might be a transcript of an interview with that person. The researcher really spends a lot of time with their words, trying to understand their meaning.
Sounds like they're trying to get inside that person's head.
Yeah, kind of. And they'll make notes about anything that stands out, you know, maybe a particular phrase the person uses or a really strong emotion that comes through.
Like taking notes in the margins of a book.
Yeah, Exactly. You're actively engaging with the material, trying to really understand it on a deeper level.
I like that.
And then from those notes, themes start to emerge. But these themes are specific to that individual's experience, right?
So even if we wouldn't find those same themes in other people's experiences, they're still valuable for understanding this one person.
Exactly. Because remember, we're trying to understand their world, not necessarily make generalizations.
Right.
Then the researcher starts connecting those themes, sort of weaving them together in a way that reflects that person's unique perspective.
It's almost like you're creating a map of their inner world.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so we've got TA giving us this broad overview and IPA giving us this incredible depth of understanding.
For that one person.
Yeah, for just one person.
Yep.
But are there any similarities between these two methods?
Well, even though they have different focuses, both TA and IPA are qualitative methods. Yeah. And that means they're both about understanding the richness and the complexity of human experience.
Not just measuring it.
Exactly. No number crunching or statistics here.
Gotcha.
It's about getting to the heart of what people are really thinking and feeling and experiencing.
So both methods involve identifying themes in the data?
They do.
But the way those themes are interpreted, that's what differs, right?
That's a key difference.
And I'm guessing both can be used with the different types of data.
Yeah, absolutely. Interviews, focus groups. You can even use social media posts depending on your research question.
That's pretty flexible.
Yep. They're both pretty flexible in that regard.
Okay, so even though they're different approaches, they share some common ground.
Right.
But where do the differences really come into play?
That's a great question.
I try.
The biggest difference, I'd say, is in their purpose.
Purpose.
Remember, TA is all about identifying those broad patterns and themes, things that can be generalized across a whole group of people.
So if I wanted to understand how people in like a certain city feel about a new public transportation proposal, TA could help me identify the common concerns or maybe those areas of support.
That's a great example.
Okay.
But with IPA, we're not looking for those broad patterns, right?
Right, more focused.
Yeah. We're really diving deep into the individual's unique experience.
So, like, if I wanted to understand how one person is coping with a chronic illness, IPA would let me explore all the little nuances of their experience.
Exactly. It's about understanding their unique perspective.
Okay.
The meaning they make of their situation. And how all of that shapes their life.
Purpose is big. Okay.
What else sets them apart? Well, the role of interpretation is another key difference.
Okay.
So with TA, the researcher tries to stay pretty close to what the participants say.
Okay.
They're not really reading too much into the data, just presenting it in a clear and systematic way.
I see.
But with IPA, the researcher plays a much more active role in the interpretation.
More active? How so?
Well, they're trying to understand not just what the person is saying, but what it means to them. What's kind of going on beneath the surface.
Like they're detectives, you know?
A little bit. They're trying to piece together that individual's worldview, you know, how they make sense of their own experiences.
That's fascinating.
Isn't it?
Okay, so what other differences should we keep in mind?
Well, there's also a difference in the level of detail.
Okay.
TA works well with large data sets because it's good for summarizing those broad themes. But IPA thrives on smaller samples. You really need that level of detail to really understand that individual's experience.
So if you're working with a small group of people and you want to really go deep, IPA is a good option.
Absolutely. And then finally, there's a difference in their philosophical roots.
Philosophical?
Yeah. So TA is pretty flexible. Doesn't really come with a specific philosophical perspective attached. But IPA, that one's grounded in phenomenology.
Phenomenology.
Yeah, which basically emphasizes understanding the world through the eyes of the individual.
Right.
Focusing on how they interpret their own experiences.
So it's not just a method, it's a whole way of thinking.
Exactly. A whole way of thinking about human experience.
Wow. This is all so interesting.
It is.
We've covered a lot of ground here today.
We have.
We've explored the ins and outs of both TA and IPA, their similarities, their differences, even their philosophical underpinnings.
We did go a little deep there.
We did, but how does a researcher, or anyone for that matter, decide which method is the right one for their needs?
That is a great question, and it's one that we will definitely tackle in part 2 of this deep dive.
All right, so stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break. And we're back, ready to dive even deeper into this world of qualitative research.
I'm ready.
Before the break, we were sort of mapping out the landscape of thematic analysis and IPA, getting a handle on how they work, what makes them unique.
Yeah, we really got into it.
We did. But now let's get practical.
Okay, sounds good.
How does a researcher or, really anyone trying to understand the world, how do they decide which method is the right tool for the job?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. It's almost like we need a thought experiment here.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Let's say I'm fascinated by people's experiences with artificial intelligence.
AI, that's a hot topic.
It is. Some people are embracing it wholeheartedly, while others are a little bit wary, maybe even afraid of what it might mean for the future.
A lot of uncertainty there.
Yeah, definitely.
So in this case, what do you really want to uncover?
Good question.
Are you looking for those common threads?
Okay.
The shared hopes or anxieties that shape people's views on AI? Or are you more interested in nuances of an individual's experience, how someone's background, their values, their own personal encounters with technology?
Right.
How does all of that influence their feelings about AI?
I think in this case, I'm more drawn to those individual perspectives.
Individual, okay.
Yeah, why is one person so excited about AI's potential, while someone else is deeply concerned about its risks?
That's interesting.
What's the story behind those feelings?
I see. So it sounds like IPA might be the way to go for you here.
IPA, okay.
Yeah, you can have these in-depth conversations with a few different people, really exploring their personal narratives, their stories around AI.
So with IPA, I could sort of create this portrait gallery of different perspectives on AI.
Exactly.
Not trying to generalize or find some universal answer.
Right.
But really embracing the complexity and the diversity of how people are experiencing this technology.
That's IPA in a nutshell. Now let's flip the script for a moment. So let's say you're, a company and you're developing this new AI-powered tool. Maybe a virtual assistant or something.
Got it.
You want to understand the broader public perception of your product?
Okay.
Are there any common concerns or hesitations that you need to address in your marketing?
In that scenario, I'm definitely interested in the big picture.
The big picture, okay.
Yeah, I need to know if people are generally excited about this kind of technology.
Right.
Or if there are widespread fears or misconceptions that need to be addressed.
It sounds like thematic analysis would be your go-to method there.
TA. Okay.
You could analyze online reviews, social media discussions, maybe even customer feedback surveys.
So I'm creating a map of the dominant attitudes toward AI.
Exactly.
Instead of those individual portraits we were talking about before.
You got it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there are situations where both methods could be valuable.
Both. Okay.
Let's imagine you're a researcher and you're studying the impact of social media on teenagers.
Interesting.
Specifically, their mental health.
Oh, that's a big one.
It is a big one. And I think both TA and IPA could offer some unique insights there.
Okay, how so?
Well, you could start with thematic analysis.
Okay.
To identify common experiences and challenges across a larger sample of teens.
So you might ask questions like, do they feel pressure to present a perfect image online?
Exactly.
Or are there specific platforms or features that they associate with, increased anxiety or depression?
That kind of broad understanding would be really valuable, wouldn't it?
It would, especially for educators and policymakers.
Absolutely. But then you might use IPA to delve deeper into the experiences of just a few individuals.
A few individuals, okay.
Yeah, to really get that in-depth understanding.
Right.
What's it actually like to navigate the world of social media as a teenager today? How does it shape their sense of self, their relationships, their aspirations?
So it's like we're using both the wide-angle lens and the zoom lens to get a more complete picture of this really complex issue.
Exactly. And remember, these methods aren't just for, academic researchers.
That's right. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, they can be applied to so many different aspects of life.
Give me an example.
Okay, let's say you're thinking about making a big career change.
Okay.
You could use IPA to really unpack your own feelings about your current job.
Interesting.
What are you hoping to gain from a new path?
Okay.
Maybe even some of those fears that are holding you back.
So instead of just going with my gut, I can use IPA to analyze my own experience.
Exactly.
And really understand the why behind my desire for change.
It can also help us connect more deeply with other people.
Other people?
Yeah, let's say a friend is going through a tough time.
Okay.
Maybe a divorce or the loss of a loved one.
Right.
Instead of, making assumptions or offering advice, you could try to understand their experience through the lens of IPA.
So I'd be asking questions like, what's this experience like for you?
Yeah.
What are you struggling with most right now?
Exactly. And really listening to their answers without judgment.
Just trying to understand.
It's about going beyond that surface level,
Yep.
Trying to get to that individual's unique perspective.
This is so interesting. I'm starting to see how powerful these tools can be.
They are powerful.
Not just for gathering information, but for really understanding ourselves and the people around us.
It's all connected.
It is. And I think that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of qualitative research.
That went by fast.
It did. But I feel like we've covered so much.
We have.
And hopefully our listeners are feeling a little bit more equipped to understand the why behind human experience.
It's all about understanding.
It is. Thanks for joining me on this journey.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
And to all of our listeners out there, until next time, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
And keep diving deeper. We're back for the final part of our deep dive, and I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling like I have this whole new set of lenses for understanding the world.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's amazing how these methods can just shift your whole perspective.
We've been talking about thematic analysis and IPA as these research tools.
But they're really so much more than that.
Absolutely.
It's been so fascinating to see how they can be applied to personal decision-making, understanding our friends and family better, even making sense of those really complex social issues.
It's like we've unlocked this secret code for deciphering human experience.
I love that. And it makes me wonder what would happen if more people had access to these tools. If we all learned to think a little bit more like qualitative researchers.
I think it would be amazing. I think it could lead to a lot more empathy, more understanding, and just maybe even more thoughtful decision making, both personally and as a society.
Totally. Imagine if, instead of jumping to conclusions or making assumptions, we just took the time to really understand where other people were coming from.
Yeah, put ourselves in their shoes for a minute.
Exactly.
And imagine if instead of just going with our gut all the time, we actually use these methods to analyze our own experiences.
Right, to understand the why behind our choices. Yeah, exactly. It's like we'd be adding this whole new dimension to our conversations, our relationships, even our own self-awareness.
It's powerful stuff.
It is.
So, as we wrap up, what's the one key message you hope our listener will take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. The next time you read a research study, a news article, or even just have a conversation with a friend, take a moment to think about what's beneath the surface.
Okay.
Are you seeing common threads connecting different perspectives? Or are you getting a glimpse into someone's uniquely woven story?
Right. That shift in perspective can change how you see the world.
Absolutely.
How you process information, how you connect with others.
It really can.
It's about remembering that every person, every experience has this depth, this richness that's worth exploring.
And that the tools for that exploration are available to all of us.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful note to end on.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of qualitative research.
My pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deeper.